Okay, so this is going to be an interesting video because what it does is it proves that it's not just folks like myself, commentators and readers of comics that have a bit of an issue sort of taking some live action depictions of some of these characters seriously. We have, artists that have come out, writers as well, and this is going to be the story that I'm going to share today. Let me go over here. You have Mr. George Perez, who he's not the star. Like he didn't create the Titans. That sort of predates him. But when the Titans you think of today is he was the one that really created that and the one that started with the '80s. So when you got Starfire and whatnot, that is thanks to Mr. George Perez. And he says, "I've never seen the Titans cartoon or the Teen Titans cartoon. I've never seen the Titans live action TV series." And then he says, "People who love it, fantastic. But remember, I'm the one who designed them. I've yet to see anyone actually do my characters the way I designed them. They all look so different. And I have a mental detachment for it." He says, "Wolfman embraces them more because conceptually, Marv can identify with them. Visually, he can't. They don't look like his characters." So it's funny. It's funny because didn't I get all this shit from these normies? Right? I got all this shit from these normies when I dared to say that Starfire looks like shit in that, you know, TV depiction. All of them look goofy. Let's be clear. Certainly in live action, all of them look fucking goofy. They are only their characters in name for the most part. They're only the characters in name. They are not the characters in anything else other than name. And I'm petting this dog because the dog is just under me, bothering the shit out of me. But they're only the characters in name. Starfire looks like absolute shit. They didn't even try to make her look like Starfire, which I think was a character that a lot of people were looking forward to seeing depicted. They just left her as this black chick, and that was it. Black woman, throw her in there. That's it. Like she looks fucking nothing like Starfire. She sort of flares up a little bit when she's utilizing her power, but it doesn't feel like Starfire. She doesn't act like you think a Starfire would. Not any of the other characters. They're all goofy looking characters, and it's not just me that says things like that. You got guys like George Perez, and I'm not saying maybe George. He has the exact same position that I have on things. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want to pin that on him. I would say it's similar in the case that you see how they look, right? And it doesn't feel like them. And I relate to that. Absolutely. Now I have other issues with it as well, but I can understand that. But to hear guys like George Perez mention this, it just really highlights how it is not just guys like myself, these commentators that take issue with some of the craziness that takes place in these comic book adaptations of these characters, where they're so goofy looking, they're so trash. They're the current writers or the current design teams. They're trying too much to be so different from it's like, what's the point, bro? If you're the whole point of you taking this character, you're making them crossover into TV and film. It's in the simple fact that you recognize this concept, right? That is a legitimate one. It's people will recognize it, so you want it to cross over. What the fuck is the point of these over retcons? It's the point of any of that. It's like the these producers, these writers talking about the TV ones. It's like because they have no attachment to the character, they treat it as it's their own canvas. And that's not what good writers do. Good writers operate within the confines in which they have been given, and they come up with cool narratives. It doesn't take, bro, and this is what kills me because you get these people, not just with Titans, you say, well, I enjoyed the show. Okay. That doesn't mean that those characters are those characters in anything other than name. You can enjoy something, but it doesn't mean that it feels like the character, or it was good. Like you're taking what a lot of these writers do in current era. They take the character. It's a rather loose depiction, and they write a completely new story, but new backgrounds, new all of this shit. It's just new. So they've not operated within any confines. What they've done is just say, I'm gonna write this character the way that I want to write the character. Well, that doesn't take talent, because they could you can do that with literally a new character that nobody's ever heard of, because that's essentially what you're doing. A talented writer is able to say, you know what? This is the material that I've been given, right? I'm going to write something fresh. I'm going to write something that is, people obviously can relate to, write something that's exhilarating, just a good story. But it's based on what I've already been given, so I'm doing the character justice. So this is why I say that a lot of these writers nowadays are shit. And it's not just with the costume designs. I'm talking about like just writing shit out. A lot of these writers are no good. And that's one of the reasons why I say that, because it's like they have an inability to write something new and fresh, but also operate within the confines that they've been given. And that is, this is a character that you did not create. Write something new. This is what the great writers are able to do. They don't have to, doesn't mean they got to keep it the exact same, but the great writers are able to make the characters feel under their legacy and make the characters feel like the characters without having to change 90 million things. But these shit writers, they don't know how to do it. And that's the excuse that they give, is that, well, this is how I want to do. That doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean that you're doing the character justice at all. But this was an interesting take, because it highlights that it's not just folks like myself that have issues with some of the depictions of these characters, and they can't take them serious. Granted, it may be for different reasons in certain aspects, but this is certainly interesting.